frontalis. Now we'll see this eyeball. It is covered by three layers. That is the three layers. That is the outer layer. It is a fibrous layer. Middle layer. It is a vascular layer or vascular coat, and the nervous coat, which is a retina. So this fibrous coat, if you see it, it is a sclera, and anteriorly it will continue as a cornea. And the vascular coat, it is having the three parts, that is a choroid, the ciliary body to which the suspensory ligament is attached, and the iris, and the nervous cord, which is formed by the retina. So we are going to see the details about the cornea, retina, and along with that we are going to see the sclera also. So eye, it is having the three chambers, that is anterior chamber, posterior chamber, and the vitreous chamber. The chambers, the anterior chamber and the posterior chamber, which is having the aqueous humor. The anterior chamber, it is present, you can see there, in between the cornea and the iris. The posterior chamber between the iris and the lens, and just behind the lens and in front of the retina, it is the vitreous chamber, which is having the vitreous. Now coming to the one by one, we'll see first of all the tunica fibrosa, fibrous coat, which is having the sclera and the cornea. So it is subdivided into the sclera and the cornea. If you see the cornea, it is a transparent layer and it occupies anterior 1/6 of the eye, while the posterior 2/5, it is covered by the sclera, which is white in color due to the arrangement of the collagen fibers, which is the opacity dense. It is a dense connective tissue. Now sclera, as I said, is mainly considered dense connective tissue, and the junction point between the sclera and the cornea, it is called as a limbus. So limbus, it is a junction between the sclera and the cornea, these two parts, which are the parts of the tunica fibrosa. Now cornea, if you see the features, it is a transparent, it is a colorless, and it is a avascular. So this is one of the part of the body which is avascular tissue. Other tissue we have seen the avascular tissue. You can put in the chat box which are those we have discussed the avascular tissue in the body. This cornea, it is about 1 millimeter in thick, and it is made up of different layers. There are 5 layers. So starting from the anterior aspect to the posteriorly. So this is a schematic diagram for better understanding. So anterior epithelium, which is a stratified squamous non-keratinized, and as you know the features of the stratified squamous non-keratinized we'll discuss in the next slide. Next layer, it is a Bowman's membrane, also called as an anterior limiting membrane. It is a cellular layer. It's made up of collagen fibrils, which acts as a basement membrane. Next, it is a stroma, that is a substantia propria. It is a connective tissue stroma. When I say the connective tissue, there are the fibers, there are the cells, that is connective tissue cells, and the ground substance, if you can recollect. So that part we'll see in the coming slides. Then there is a Descemet membrane, which is also called as a posterior limiting membrane. And there is a posterior epithelium, which is the endothelium. So you should able to remember all these 5 layers starting from the anterior to the posterior layer. So to remember, easy to remember, just remember alphabet A, B, C, D, and E. A stand for the anterior epithelium, B stand for the Bowman's membrane, C stands for the connective tissue stroma, and D stands for the Descemet membrane, and the E stands for the endothelium. Right? So these are the 5 layers. Now we should able to describe those 5 layers in detail and correlate with their function. So this is the picture what you see under the microscope, that is epithelium. So these 5 layers I have shown in this diagram, which is seen under the microscope. So if you see the stroma, maximum part of the cornea, it is covered by the stroma. So the anterior epithelium, which covers the outer surface of the cornea, it is made up of stratified squamous non-keratinized, And as we know, the stratified squamous non-keratinized, the basal layer, it is a columnar layer, cells, single cell, resting on the basement membrane. Above that, there are polygonal cells, 3 to 4 in layer. And next, the top layer is a squamous epithelium. Okay, so it is made up of stratified squamous non-keratinized. And now here, if you see the picture of the surface epithelium, they may show the microvilli. They can retain the fluid film, which will make the cornea moist and smooth, which will help in the making the cornea transparent. Now this corneal epithelium, okay, it regenerates rapidly. Okay, so there is continuous replacement of the cells, okay, as compared to the other tissue. Bowman's membrane, which is also called as anterior limiting membrane, which is about 10 to 12 micron in thick. It is a acellular, okay, and in which there are collagen fibrils which are densely arranged. Densely packed collagen fibrils are present in the Bowman's membrane, and it is coming just above the substantia propria. This Bowman's membrane on which the cells is acts as a basement membrane on which the cells are resting of the stratified squamous epithelium, that is the anterior epithelium, and it acts as a barrier to spread of infection. So if you see the cornea which is exposed to the environment, there is more chances of getting infections. So that has been, it acts as a barrier to prevent the infection. And the basement membrane, as I said, it is get thickened on which the basement the cells are resting on this basement membrane. Okay. So this was the Bowman's membrane, that is anterior limiting membrane. Next, it is a connective tissue stroma. Now, if you see here, as I said, if you see all 90% thickness of the cornea, it is of the substantia propria, and it is made up of collagen fibers. Okay, and these are arranged in the form of lamina or the layers. If you see these collagen fibers, they are type 2 collagen fibers which are arranged in many layers. This bundle of collagen fibers within the lamina, okay, within the same layer, they are parallel to each other, and they are highly ordered. They are regularly arranged, and the adjacent lamina, the bundles of collagen fibers, they are arranged right angle to each other. Okay, this arrangement of the fiber, it will make the cornea transparent. So this is one of the factor which will help to make the cornea transparent. The arrangement of the fiber, you see the collagen fibers, as well as the ground substance which is present here. Along with that, okay, you can see this arrangement of the fibers in this schematic diagram. The substantia fibers, they are of the fibers, they are of uniform size, and they are embedded in the ground substance. So these are sulfated glycosaminoglycans, that is rich in chondroitin sulfate and creatine sulfates. Okay, this will help make the cornea transparent. Now, as I said, cornea, it is avascular. Okay, so there is absence of the blood vessels and the lymphatics, but it is if you see cornea, it is nerve supply, it is having a high nerve supply. So this arrangement of the fibers along the ground substance, which will make the cornea it is avascular, and there are absence of epicels, which will make the cornea transplant successful. The posterior limiting membrane, that is a Descemet's membrane, the fourth layer, it is again forming the basement membrane for the posterior epithelium, that is endothelium. It is also a cellular homogeneous collagenous layer. Okay, and this basement membrane, it consists of meshwork of collagen fibrils. Coming to the last layer, that is of the cornea, it is a posterior epithelium, also called as a corneal epithelium. It is simple squamous to the low cuboidal epithelium. Whatever the metabolic exchange between the cornea and the aqueous humor, it takes place between this epithelium. This epithelium, they are joined with each other by the tight junction. So it is also responsible for the synthesis of the protein which are necessary to maintain the Descemet membrane. So 5 layers we have seen. We have seen the function and the description of the each layer. So what are the peculiarities of this cornea? It is a transparency of the cornea. What are the reasons which makes the cornea transparent? It is a smoothness of the epithelium, one. Okay, then the absence of the blood vessels. Next, then uniform organization of the collagen fibrils in the substantia propria and the glycosamine glycan sulfatate, that is chondroitin sulfate and the keratin sulfate. So these are the factors which are responsible for to make the cornea transparent. Which are the factors which will help in the allogenic transplantation of the cornea without immunological rejection? This is mainly the absence of the blood vessels and absence of the antigen presenting cells. So you should remember during the viva this may be asked. Okay, you should know able to describe all the layers. First of all, mention all the layers, features of the all the layers. Okay, don't and also you should know the peculiarities of this cornea. So this was about the cornea. Next slide, just we'll go in brief about the sclera, which forms the protective covering of the eyeball, and as well as it will give shape to the eye. This sclera, if you see, it is pierced by the blood vessels, nerves, and the optic nerve. Okay. Now this sclera, it is having a 3 layers, that is outer episclera, which is the vascular. It is having a stroma, which is made up of the collagen fibers, and the lamina fusca, which is made up of the loose connective tissue along with the pigment cells. Okay, so these are the 3 layers in this schematic diagram. Okay, sclera, episclera, sclera proper, and lamina fusca. The episclera mainly consider loose connective tissue. You can see here it is a loose connective tissue. That tendons of the extraocular muscles, they will get pierced and will get attached to the stroma. That is the middle layer. Somebody's mic is unmute. Somebody's mic is unmute. Please see that. Okay, tendon of the extraocular muscle will get inserted or get attached on the sclera. So this is epiclera, which is a loose connective tissue. Next, it is the stroma. If you see the stroma, which is densely packed collagen fibril bundles along with the elastic fibers. If you see the arrangement of these collagen fibers, they are randomly arranged. And because of that, whatever opacity of the sclera, which we see the white of the sclera, it is due to the randomly arrangement of the collagen fibers. Okay. If you see the compare with the cornea, where they are very orderly arranged. That's why if you see the cornea, okay, the cornea, it is a transparent. So lamina fusca, which is the innermost layer which will connect the sclera to the choroid. Also, it is made up of the loose connective tissue in which there are presence of melanocytes. Okay, so this was about the sclera. So we have seen the fibrous coat, in which we have seen the cornea, 5 layers of the cornea, then the sclera. Now coming to the next layer, directly we'll go to the next layer and then directly we'll go to the. So before going to that, there is a sclerocorneal junction, which is called as a limbus. Now close to the limbus, there is one canal which is lined by the endothelial, and this canal, it is called as a sinus venosus sclerae or canal of sclera. Very important canal we should know, because as we go for the ophthalmology clinic, okay, you should know what is the location, what is the function of this canal. Okay. Now, what is the function of this canal? It collects the aqueous humor from the anterior chamber to the iridocorneal canal, and this aqueous humor, it is drained from the sinus, that is the sinus venosus sclerae, to the anterior ciliary vein. You can see the diagram. There is anterior ciliary vein by mean of aqueous fluid. So whatever the aqueous which is there, it has to be drained. So continuous process is going on there, and it is drained by the sinus to the aqueous vein to the anterior ciliary vein. The important fact is that these veins, they are devoid of the walls. What will happen? You see the clinically applied part. If this drainage or this canal get blocked, Okay, whatever the excess of the aqueous humor is synthesized, it will be not drained. The aqueous humor which is formed will be not drained, and it will increase the intraocular pressure. Okay, so this condition, it is called as a glaucoma. So this is the importance of the sinus venosus sclera canal of sclera. So till this I should clear now. So we have seen the cornea in detail and the sclera and the sinus venosus sclera. Tunica vasculosa, I'll not go into detail. So it has a vascular layer and the pigmented. So it is having the choroid, which until it will form the ciliary body, and next it will form the iris.
बसलेली पाण्यात.
Vaishnavi Aute, some Vaishnavi, your mic is on. Huh? The next layer, the third layer, innermost layer, it is a retina. So we have seen the, we are coming to the innermost layer, that is a retina, neural layer. It is the innermost layer of the three tunica, and developmentally, if you see, it is having the two layers. The outer pigmented layer, it is non-nervous layer, and inner neural layer. Okay, it is a nervous layer. So this slide we are going to see in detail. What are the different layers? What are the different cells? What are the description of each cell and function of the each cell? Okay, that we are going to see now. Now, this pigment layer, it develops from, if you see, this is the optic vesicle, optic stalk, it will form the optic cup, and if you see, this is the inner layer of the optic cup, and this is the outer layer of optic cup. This pigment layer, it is formed by the outer wall of the optic cup, while neural layer, it is formed in the inner wall of the optic cup. If you see, the neural layer, it ends at the ora serrata, while the pigment layer, it will extend over, if you see the next slide, it will extend over the ciliary body and the iris. If you see here, ora serrata, that is 17 number if you see here, okay, and in front of that, it is only the continuation of the pigment layer. So retina in brief, the schematic diagram here I have shown here. The different layer, the sclera, the choroid, and the retina, in which the retina, if you see it properly, you can see there is pigment layer. Then there is a neural layer which is showing the rods and cones. Then below that, you can see the bipolar cells which are connecting rods and cones with the ganglion cells. So there are ganglion cells. So these are the very important cells which will be seen here. Along with that, there are other cells like association cells are there, neural cells are there, horizontal cells, amacrine cells, and one supporting cell is there, which is a Muller cell. That we'll see in the coming slide. So this is a for a simple diagram for understanding the histology part. Now, very these different cells just we have separated here. That is the components of the retina. Retina, which is having the neuroepithelial cells. These are the photoreceptor cells. Which are those? Those are rods and cones. Already you know detail about this because it is taken in the physiology lectures. There are synaptic neurons. Which are those? These are the bipolar. You can see in the diagram, and the ganglion cells. Association neurons, which are seen here, that is the horizontal cells and the amacrine cells. And the neuroglial cell, which is not seen in this diagram, it is a Muller cell. It is a supporting cells. And non-nervous cell, which is a pigment cell, which is outermost cell, you can see there. So these are the cells that we should know, and they are typically arranged in the retina. If you know these cells and their arrangement, you can easily comment on the different layer, and if you know the each cell, the histology part of the each cell, then it becomes easy to understand the slide of retina. So we'll go further now. This is the diagram overall view, which is showing the sclera, the choroid, and different layers of the retina, in which we can see the pigment cell of the retina, which is darkly stained. Okay, then rods and cones, then there is outer limiting membrane, there is a nuclei of the rods and outer nuclear layer, outer flexiform layer, inner nuclear layer, inner flexiform layer. Okay, all this now we are going to study step by step. So first of all, we will see the different layers. It is made up of 10 layers. In sub book it is mentioned 8 layers, in which they are not consider the outer and inner limiting membrane. Okay, now here we'll consider the 10 layers. Which are those 10 layers which are formed by these cells? First, it is a pigment layer which is darkly stained, so one number you can correlate there. Next, it is the layers of rods and cones. Okay, now these rods and cones, they have a nucleus. Okay, that will form the outer nuclear layer. Okay, okay, and if you see the rods and cones, they have got the outer segment and the inner segment, which are separated by the external limiting membrane. Here I will clarify the external limiting membrane and the internal membrane. These are the parts, or these are the nothing but these are the supporting cells, the Muller cells. Okay, they are joined by the junctional complex, is the zona occludens. Okay, which will form the external limiting membrane here, just near the inner segment of the rods and cones. Then outer nuclear layer, which is formed by the nucleus of the rods and cones, that is 4. Flexiform layer. When we say the flexiform layer, these are the nerve fibers, maybe the axons, maybe the dendrites. So that is a flexiform layer. We'll see the detail which are these nerve fibers which is forming the flexiform layer, outer flexiform layer. Inner nuclear layer. Now in the inner nuclear layer, there are the cells, the bipolar cells which are present, the nucleus of the bipolar cells, the association cells which I have seen, that is the horizontal cells, amacrine cells, and one supporting cell, that is the Muller cells. So all these nucleus will form the inner nuclear layer. Inner flexiform layer, okay, again we see these are again the fibers, mainly the axon, dendrites, but here mainly the axons of the bipolar cells and dendrites of the ganglionic cells will form the inner flexiform layer. Ganglion layer, it is purely formed by the nucleus of the ganglion cells, and the axons of the ganglion cells will form the nerve fiber layer. Okay, and lastly, as I said, Muller cell, okay, it will form the internal limiting membrane. So remember, external limiting membrane and inner limiting membrane both formed by the Muller cell. Okay, so these layers, 10 layers, if you know the arrangement of the cells, it is easy to remember these cells, these layers. Okay, now we'll go in detail one by one layer. The pigment cell layer, it is a non-neurous, it is a single layer, it is cuboidal epithelium, okay, which is resting on the basement membrane, the Busch membrane. Now why it is pigmented? Because of it contains the melanin granules. What is the function of these pigment cells? Okay, as it is darkly stained, it is having a melanin pigment, it will absorb and prevent the reflection of light. Whatever the light which is passing through the neural layer, it will absorb and it will prevent the reflection. Now these cells, they have ability to phagocyte. Whatever the rods and cones, the outer segment which is having the membranous disc, they are continuously regenerating. Okay, that will be with the phagocyte by these pigment cells. Okay, and as well as they will produce the melanin pigment. So these are the functions and the histological features of the pigment cell, which are cuboidal epithelium, okay, which are in single layer resting on the basement membrane. Next layer, it is of the rods and cones. If you see here a schematic diagram, these are the photoreceptor cells, okay, and they will pass through the, as I say, the inner segment will pass through the external limiting membrane. Okay, now what is this external limiting membrane? It is a sieve-like membrane formed by the glial cell. As I said, here it is shown schematic diagram. The glial cell, it is a Muller cell, also called as a supporting cell. Next, that is the outer nuclear layer. If you see, it is the nucleus of only photoreceptor cells. Which are those? These are rods and cones. Outer flexiform layer, if you see here, there are axons of the or inner segment of the rods and cones, and there are dendrites of the bipolar cells. So these will form the inner flexiform layers. Okay, so bipolar layers, they will connect. Now these photoreceptor cells to the ganglion cells. Okay. The inner nuclear layer, if you see here now, see the nucleus. It is the nucleus of the bipolar cells. It is the nucleus of the association cell, that is the horizontal cells, and the amacrine cells. Also the supporting cell, that is the Muller cells. So inner nuclear layer, it is formed by the bipolar cell, nucleus of the bipolar, Muller, horizontal cells, and the amacrine cells. While these horizontal cells, they will have connection between the different photoreceptor cells as well as the bipolar cells, and which will take contribution in the formation of outer flexiform layer. Amacrine cells, okay, which is present in the inner nuclear layer, okay, it will connect the different bipolar and the ganglionic cell, and which will form the inner flexiform layer. Okay, so easy to remember what is the inner flexiform layer. The axons which are coming from the bipolar cells, and the dendrites which are coming going towards the ganglionic cells, okay, along with the amacrine cells, the neurites of the amacrine cell. All these together will form the inner flexiform layer. The ganglion cell, as I said, these are large cells. They are having the large cell bodies, and these are ganglion cells, okay, which will form the ganglion layer cells. The axons which are coming from this ganglion cell, they will form the nerve fiber layer, okay, and all these nerve fibers, this axon, okay, they assemble together of the optic disc to form the optic nerve. So optic nerve, it is formed by the axons of the ganglion cell. Now, as I said, the inner limiting membrane, okay, this is a layer which consists of the processes of the Muller cells, which will join to form the inner limiting membrane. So this was the schematic diagram and the different layers which I have seen. Now little bit will go in detail about the each cell briefly. The photoreceptor cells already have covered in the physiology, but there are rods and cones, and they are classified according to the outer segment. If this is the shape of the outer segment of the rod, it is cylindrical. The cone, it is a conical. Rods are more in number, about 120 millions, compared to the cones, which are 6 million in number. And each photoreceptor cells, they are present in the having the outer segment and the inner segment. If you see the outer segment, it have a membrane bound disc which contains the photoreceptive material. So this is a comparative diagram to differentiate between the rods and cones. The rods, they are sensitive to the dim light, while the cones, they are sensitive to the bright light. At the outer segment, it is a cylindrical in the rods, while it is conical in the cones. Here the photosensitive material which is present in the membrane bound disc, it is a rhodopsin in the rods, while it is rhodopsin in the cones. If you see the arrangement of the disc, the membrane bound disc, they are independent in the rods, while they are, if you see in the cones, they are not completely separated from each other. So they are continuous with the plasma membrane. So plasma membrane is continuous with the each disc. Now these cones, okay, though they are low in number, they provide color vision and better visual acuity. So these are the few differentiating points between the between the rods and the cones. Okay, just if you see the old discs which are renewed by the addition of the new discs which are being generated at the lower part of the outer segment, okay, whatever the disc which has been set off at the tip, which will be phagocyted by the pigment layer, that is the simple cuboidal epithelium we are seeing. So that was about the rods and cones. Bipolar cells, the cell bodies, as I said, they are located in the inner nuclear layer. The dendrites, okay, they will synapse with the rods and cones, okay, while the axons, they will synapse with the ganglion cells. So they will transmit the impulses which are generated from the photoreceptor to the ganglion cells. That is the main function of the bipolar cell. Ganglion cells, as I said, the cell bodies, they are large, Now these dendrites, they will synapse with the axons of the bipolar cells, while the axons, they will pass through the optic disc of the near the retina. So the axon, they will form or they will assemble to form the optic nerve. Okay, the optic discs, the all axons, they'll come together to form the optic nerve. Horizontal cells and the amacrine cells, these are the association cells. The horizontal cells, okay, their dendrites and axons will extend into the outer plexiform layer, and they will connect with the they will establish the connection with the bipolar as well as the photoreceptor cells. While the amacrine cells, okay, they will connect or they will establish connection between the or synapse with the bipolar cell as well as the ganglionic cell, okay, and which will contribute in the formation of the inner plexiform layer. The Muller cells, if you see the cell bodies, they are located in the inner nuclear layer. So if you see the inner nuclear layer, there are 4 cells. If you see nucleus of 4 cells: Muller cell, bipolar cell, horizontal cell, and the amacrine cell. Okay, these are the supporting cells. They are the glial cells. The outer process, it will extend up to the inner segment of the photoreceptor cells. Okay, and they are joined together by the zona adherens to form the outer limiting membrane, while the inner process of the cell, okay, it will form the inner limiting membrane. Okay, so this is the for the function of the Muller cell, the supporting cell. If you see this comparative diagram, it is upside down. You can see here, starting from the below, if you see, there are rods and cone, there are external limiting membrane, there is a outer nuclear layer, outer plexiform layer, inner nuclear layer, and you can compare their side by side. There is a diagram, the histological diagram of the high power. There also I have labeled it: external limiting membrane, outer nucleoform. If you go through, you can compare this, and it is under the microscope. In same way, we have to identify the different layers. Okay? So this is one is the schematic diagram, and another is the comparative diagram, which is seen under the microscope. When you come in the histology lab, we'll discuss all these things. Okay, this was about the retina. So retina, which is having the 10 layers, which is having the different cells. We have seen there are neural and non-neural cells. The pigment cells, non-neuronal cells, neuronal cells, these are photoreceptors. There are association cells, there are supporting cells which are being present here. What is fovea centralis? It is a posterior pole of the eyeball, which is a yellow pigmented spot, which is also called as a yellow spot or macula lutea. And the depression in the macula lutea, it is called as fovea centralis. And this fovea centralis is free of rods. Only cones are present which are densely packed, and as we know, these cones, they are having a greater visual activity. So this region, it is having a greater visual activity. So fovea centralis. Coming to the optic disc, it is a circular area. It is located medial to the posterior pole, just 3 mm near to the posterior pole. And what is this optic disc? All the retinal fibers, they will terminate. If you see all the retinal layers, they will terminate except this optic disc, the axons of the ganglion cells, okay, which will assemble, converge to form the optic nerve. So it is, if you see this area, it is devoid of, or there is absence of photoreceptor cells. Both rods and cones are absent. So this area, it is insensitive to the light. That's why it is also called as a blind spot. Okay. If you consider with the fovea centralis, it is a high acuity vision. And here, if you see the optic disc, it is a blind spot where the rods and cones are absent. Coming to the next slide, that is of the lens. What is the lens? It is a transparent, it is a biconvex, and is a flexible mass, which is located in between the iris and the vitreous body. So anteriorly there is iris, posteriorly there is a vitreous body, and in between there is a lens which is a transparent, so that light can pass to the cornea to the lens. And this lens, it is kept in position by the suspensory ligament of lens. In turn, this suspensory ligament of lens, it is attached to the ciliary body. So if you see, there is choroid, ciliary body and iris. So this ciliary body, which gives attachment to the suspensory ligament, in turn it will keep the suspensory ligament, this capsule in position. So this lens, it has a two surface, anterior surface and the posterior surface. If you see in this diagram, the posterior surface, it is more convex as compared to the anterior surface. Coming to the structure, now this lens, it is covered by the capsule. Whole of the lens, it is covered by the capsule, and there is also anterior epithelium and the lens fiber. Now this connective tissue capsule, which is covering the entire lens, okay, and the anterior surface of the lens, it is lined by the epithelium, that is the simple cuboidal epithelium. Now this simple cuboidal epithelium, which is anterior, these cells, now they are connected with each other by a gap junction, and these cells get elongated and they will differentiate into the lens fiber. These lens fibers, these are nothing but these are elongated cells of the anterior epithelium. Okay, so as we go to the next slide. If you see, the lens fibers, they are formed, there is a continuous process throughout the life. So the lens fiber, they are formed throughout the life, okay, which is from the main bulk of the lens, it is formed by the lens fiber, and as you know, this lens fiber is nothing but the elongated cells of the anterior epithelium. The central part, it is the heart, which is called as a nucleus, which is occupied by the old fibers, okay, and the new fiber, they are at the periphery. So you can see in this diagram very nicely, the new fibers, they are peripherally placed, and this cuboidal epithelium, which is anterior epithelium, cells are getting elongated, okay, and they are forming the lens fiber. Mature fiber, they contain the crystalline protein as well as there is absence of the cell organelles and the nucleus. If you see the arrangement of this fiber, they are also quite regularly arranged, which will make the lens transparent, so that whatever the light which is there can pass to the cornea through the lens. Okay, so today we have seen the focus mainly on the slide of, that is the cornea, then the retina, that is the retina, and the lens. So you should know in detail about these slides. A little bit about the cornea. What is the corneal ulcer? It is open sore on the cornea, and the factors which may cause the corneal ulcer may be the infection. There may be trauma. The trauma may be the physical, chemical, produce. There may be the corneal drying may be there, and due to the exposure. Also, those who are using the contact lens, okay, they may also face for the corneal ulcer. If they are not treated incorrect immediately, they may lead to the fibrosis and it may lead to the blindness. So the light that may not pass through the cornea, it may make the cornea opaque. Okay, so what is a cataract? When you go to the ophthalmologist, or you have maybe knowing about the cataract, so it is nothing, in simple words, it is any opacity in the lens or its capsule. It may be the congenital or it may be the acquired. Okay, so that condition, it is called as a cataract. It may be congenital cataract or it may be the acquired cataract. Okay. Last slide will come here, that is the retinal detachment. So we have seen there are two layers, that is a non-nervous layer, that is pigment layer, and the neural layer. Okay, the outer layer of the optic cup, it will form the pigment layer, the inner layer, it will form the neural retina. So these two layers, the retinal detachment, it is described as the separation between the neurosensory retina from the retinal pigment epithelium. Okay, so if there is a retinal detachment, there is complete blindness. Okay, coming to the practical point of view, what is the actual picture seen under the microscope, under the 10x? This is a real picture of the cornea, in which you can only see the nicely the stroma. So 90% of the cornea, it is formed by the stroma, which is a dense connective tissue, okay, which is made up of the collagen fiber, type 2 collagen fiber. Anteriorly, again we go for the high power, you can see the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay, so by looking at this, we can identify the cornea. So all the slides which we have to identify under the 10x. This is the slide of lens. You can see these are the lens fibers which I'm seeing here. It is a part I have shown here. The central part, it is called as a nucleus, and peripheral part, it is occupied by new fibers. Okay, lens fibers which has been stained here eosinophily. So this is the slide of the lens, and lastly, this is the slide of the retina. Now, if you see here in the retina, you can see there is a pigment layer, the huge layer. It is of the choroid. So there is sclera, the choroid, and then coming to the retina. The retina, when you discuss under the microscope, you can see the different layers. So if you see there are some fibers are seen, these are nothing but these are flexiform layer. So outer layer, you can see there is pigment layer. Underneath, you can see there is a outer flexiform, the layer of rods and cones, okay, in which you can see the nucleus of the rods and cones, outer flexiform layer, then the inner nuclear layers. Okay, that again during the practical I can show you in more detail. Okay, it's quite difficult to show here all the things. Okay, so these are the 3 slides for us important, but sclerocorneal junction, that is a limbus, in which we have the canal of Schlemm. It is very important for us. We should know about that. Along with that, you should know the gross anatomy, the eyeball, the extraocular muscles. So Viva may go anywhere. So be prepared with all these things. Okay. So this is for today. Thank you.